Welcome to another episode of our community podcast. Today we're very excited. We have a member of the TRSS Security company joining us. They are responsible for looking after our communities and keeping us safe. Brian joining us as a sales executive today from TRSS. Brian, welcome.
Thank you, Candice. Thank you for having me here today.
We're looking forward to finding out a little bit more. So
Super.
Brian, maybe to kick us off, tell us a little bit about TRSS, where they started and what they stand for.
Yes, surely. TRSS concurrently is 25 years in business. How we started off was many years ago. It started off as two directors went to a estate in Fourways, and they currently went on a night out drinking and realized when they actually left the estate they couldn't find their car and the guarding was just not up to scratch. This is the original company before it amalgamated with another company in that. And that's the starting point of where I came from in TRSS, from the RSS days in that time.
Okay.
So where we sort of focus on our core businesses is guarding, is reaction, and technical and off-site monitoring. That's where we focus on in that time.
Fantastic, Brian. So, I think we can agree that our security elements have evolved over the years and what we need to do to make sure that we do remain secure. What are some of the tips that you can share with our listeners today?
So typically what stands out, because we deal with crime on a day-to-day basis, would definitely be the situation of being proactive. Proactive is the way to survive out there, in terms of a lot of people are concurrently very busy in their day-to-day life and running around, and you find that we just unfortunately don't look at our environment that we live in and the circumstances that prevail, and this is how criminals tend to prey on innocent people in that time.
So we're going to delve into that a little bit more in detail
Okay.
later on. But at the moment, we're looking at a scenario where many of our homeowners and business owners are looking to upspec their security. What would your recommendations be on a budget-friendly basis or just in general?
100%. Candice, you've hit it on the nail. Where we like to look at, and we shoot a straight arrow, in terms of key focusing on your security. You'll get a company that comes in with a world of advice and a world of trying to make money off your consumer, who works very hard for his day-to-day money. And in terms of looking at it, we would say point to your key focus areas. Always 75% of your properties as a whole, it's your electric fences, it's your access control. So perimeter access control are your key points. If you do not get those 2 points right, that's where your problems start. So I would focus, if I had to spend and I had limited budget in terms of where I'd spend my money, well, it would definitely be on those two aspects to start off with.
So correct me if I'm wrong. We were chatting about this briefly earlier today. Prevention is better than cure. So a lot of what you're talking about is being proactive instead of reactive. Would you agree?
100% correct.
Okay. So talking about best practices, Brian, we've got something that refers to as situational awareness. Would you mind sharing a little bit more with us on what situational awareness is and how our community can forearm themselves with this approach?
Absolutely correct. So what we do, coming from an industry where prior to security I was in the police, we call it a battle plan. So end of the day, a battle plan would mean in a situation, you're going to your area, you know hotspots in terms of hijacking situations, it's always about familiarity in terms of where you shop, how you shop, where you basically would feel most vulnerable in terms of always have a plan. So if you go to the shop, you can't jump out of a car, leave your car open, know full well, hopefully your car will be there when you get back. Walk around with a wad of cash notes, go to the ATM. We just say basically always have a plan and have a battle plan in place that can safeguard you, because criminals, whether you like it or not, will always be watching you.
So I think, again, the key that stands out for me is the awareness, first of all, not being ignorant.
Correct.
We are living in South Africa, but at the same time, again, going back to being proactive instead of reactive.
100%
taking those
correct.
preventative measures.
Correct.
Do you find that works? I mean, have you seen the results of that?
It most definitely works.
Okay. as a deterrent to the criminals?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, whether we like it or not, and going back to, if you actually even Google it, that South Africa is the 5th known country in the world to have the highest crime rate in the world in that time.
Okay, but they don't know what South Africans know, right?
100% correct. Got you.
So we keep ourselves on our toes.
100%.
Brian, thank you for that. In terms of the benefits of, I'm a community member and I'm considering now employing the services of a security company, being TRSS. What is the difference between that and working with the police force, as an example?
First and foremost, good point there, Candice. In terms of how you work, I would always, if I was, let's say, not in the industry and I was researching, I was buying a house in the area, I would always look for a company that has got some sort of familiarity in terms of lots of sites on in the area. So you drive around, typically you'll see lots of boards. That's a clear indication. The next question I would ask is that security company working with the South African Police Services, working with the Community Police Forum? If they're not, it would be a concern for me, because in the day, the community as a whole, remember, when we share information, especially with among security companies, we don't like to share. We're all profit organizations where we actually don't share information because we're trying to obtain supremacy in the sort of the area as far as that's concerned. So those are the pointers I would look for. It's vital that you work with a community type of security company, because they have done all their for example, 24 years. If I talk about Yuxcape Park and I talk about Johannesburg North and Fourways and Machalisa, we've been in this area for 24 years. We've monitored and watched the crime trends change, and for that, the only way to fight crime and to work with strategic partners like the SAPS, the CPF, is to understand the dynamic of what crime offers. It's not always the same. It does tend to change, and what changes also is technology. Technology. Back in the day when my parents were running around Fourways and Brass, they never had cell phones.
Of course.
So now you find a criminal's got a cell phone, and the best thing that ever happened is you can get on the cell phone and say, guys, the police are now coming around the corner. You can leave the property. But it didn't have those advantages before. And that's a disadvantage what us crime fighters have. That we, as much as we use technology is also used against us as well.
Of course. So you touched on a very pertinent point there that I'd like to delve into for just a moment. In terms of your collaboration with the SAPS, can you take us through what that looks like? Because I would imagine that's a very vital relationship.
Candice, absolutely. So where we partner with them, our SWAT teams, our specialized units do offer their services to them to do lots of crime preventions in the area. So that comes up quite often through the year, where the station commander would request various security companies to join them on their joint operations. And where that plays is that's a proactive role. So going back to, I worked one day when I was in the police in Midrand, and we ran around Midrand the whole night trying to find criminals. We couldn't find one, and we were all disillusioned and upset the next morning. And when we were doing our dismissing parade, somebody put their hand up and said to the station commander, "What a waste of time." And he turned around and said, "You know what, tonight Midrand was free of crime. It was not a waste of time." So we looked at it from a total different perception. Being the policeman and new at it and wanting to arrest and just getting stuck in, because that was our core in those days. We were taught something quite new and quite good to carry on in life in that time.
So keeping our community safe is very much, in my opinion, a team effort. You touched on something earlier in terms of the community involvement. Can you share a story with us whereby a community got involved and intervened and assisted with security measures, whether it's good practices or an actual scenario that took place? Could you share an example with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the last past, the cold front face of our business, we have to do arrests. How the arrests come about is you find that typically we had one in Midrand. I refer to Midrand also because it's quite a big area. We've had it in Fourways, we have it in Kaya Sands, where residents actually have seen something, and what they do is they actually notify the relevant authority, and the relevant authority would automatically, because we work quite hand in hand with the SAPS know that area is mostly covered by this security company. They would want our involvement in it, and we've made some positive arrests in terms of that's the collaboration we have with the community, the fact that actually having people just say, look, it didn't happen to me and why should I really care, for us is a problem. To pick up the phone, it takes 2 minutes to notify the relevant authorities and to eradicate that problem or threat, because that can manifest itself into something more serious in that time.
So again, community involvement, we have WhatsApp groups, we have interactions, meetings. Take us through your perception of those initiatives.
Okay, so where we kind of look at the WhatsApp group, it's vital to our industry and our business. We use it a lot. We're on a lot of community groups. However, we encourage our residents and our people that actually utilize them. It's not a primary notification in terms of emergency. We still believe in the old traditional way of pushing a panic button or getting on the phone and having a physical phone call. We find that with so many WhatsApps, and we also with so many WhatsApps in our control room such as WhatsApp, you find that often, I've seen it, where basically after a WhatsApp has come and gone and people have actually commented, you've missed the point. Where actually I had a situation in Bryanston where a lady was shot, and what happened was that she posted the last notification onto a WhatsApp group. The group was chatting and saying, we're hearing gunshots, but we don't know where it's coming from, and that she did try for help, and that because there was so much chatter on the actual WhatsApp, it took quite a while to get the medical emergency services out to her and try and find where she was in that time. So I do believe, honestly, it does work well. On all my guarding sites, all my guards have got WhatsApp groups. We communicate, we can take pictures, especially when, for example, if a guard comes across a damaged car and he takes a picture, he can actually show it to the trustees the next morning, and there's not a situation that it's written in a book and he walked past and there's damage to a car, but a picture does always tell the story a lot better than that time.
So again, I mean, you talk about the WhatsApp group and what took place. In terms of tips to the community on how to handle those WhatsApp groups, what are some of the best practices that you would recommend?
Definitely, basically, when putting stuff onto the groups itself, try and be quite accurate, quite specific, but always try, especially in an emergency situation, try and follow it up with a phone call in that time. Definitely, I'll give you an example. I was driving through Yuxcape Park yesterday, and there was a gentleman lying in the road, and it looked that he'd been run down or knocked down by a car, and I notified quickly. I made 2 calls. I put a WhatsApp group on the group to notify that there was an incident on the ground, so our control room could see it. I also then made a call after to the CPF, which got hold of ER24 and emergency services on the medical side, and that to me was quite a clear way of actually getting the message across in that. You find a lot of people tend to be, the word is, it's a lot quicker and faster just to put a WhatsApp and just leave it at that, and say, look, I've done my bit in that. But where it kicks back, definitely from our perspective, from a security company, is that you can imagine a control room that's sitting there with maybe 75 or 80 at any given time WhatsApp groups is watching, and something comes through on an emergency, and your chances you could just miss that. So I definitely encourage to use the WhatsApp group, but to always just back it up with a phone call or something to that effect afterwards. No.
So moral of the story really being less is more in this instance, being accurate, concise,
100%,
and then following it up with that phone call.
Spot on, 100%.
So Brian, you chatted briefly about technology earlier. What technology or innovation is TRSS implemented to assist making our community safer?
100%. What we've currently done is we've used the apps on the cell phones, where basically that interlink into our control room. In the past, it never used to do that. We've also looked at AI on our technology on our cameras and that. We've gone. You'll see that a lot of the camera corners with RumaCam are quite prevalent in terms of counter measuring against crime. So you probably find that more than likely on the off-site monitoring side, the AI has intensified. So that type of technology goes very, very well. On my side, on the guarding side, we cannot do without technology. We find that guarding and technology work very well hand in hand. You find that tremendously that companies that are still just using manpower or have jumped just to technology, it's not there yet. That combination of manpower and technology, definitely we find being on the ground level works very, very well in that term.
Yeah, the best of both worlds. So I must admit, even in our industry, we find the combination of the two, the technology as well as the human element, as you say, man on the ground, is definitely the best synergy there.
100%.
So again, Brian, we look at a safe community, and that is really the foundation of a thriving neighborhood. In terms of collaborating with businesses in and around the areas, what do you see that as, and how can businesses get involved in the aid of looking after our communities?
Absolutely. We look after a couple of industrial areas. We encounter a lot more crime in the industrial areas in terms of most of these areas that we focus on are quite close to informal settlements. So attentively you find that with the business owners as a whole, their contribution can be major. At the end of the day, they have the strength and the manpower in sense, and also the financial backing to actually afford a security company that can provide the correct regulated service in that time.
And in terms of community initiatives, I know, for instance, a few weeks back we got involved together, did a little bit of collaboration, where I love the fact that you're not only serving a purpose for the security of our communities, but actually giving back to the communities. Would you mind sharing more about that initiative?
Yes, absolutely. We've been doing this now for, as I say, since the time we've actually started. It brings us great, immense enjoyment to actually give back to the community, and that for us to do a cleanup, and also just to get out of the day-to-day office and have to deal with crime all day long. It spins us off into a whole different, where we actually can spend time with different people and engage and just share our war stories and basically understand where you guys come from as well. So for us, it's actually a very good thing, and it helps us a lot to also gain momentum in the community in that term.
100%. It's a team effort, right?
Definitely, 100%.
So Brian, how do our community get involved? You've got something like the Community Policing Forum. What is your suggestion on getting involved?
Absolutely. CPF, they're voluntary members, they are civilian people, they are the community. By all means, get hold of your local police station. Depending on which area you fall under, or what, you can then basically apply and join the CPF.
Okay, fantastic. How often do they meet?
They meet once a month.
Okay, how would I go about, I mean, once I apply, who would I contact? How would I get there?
SAPS directly.
Okay.
So you would ask for the area commander who looks after the area, and he will then facilitate you onto the person that runs this specific area. Another one also some areas have got is these block watches, which also runs through the SAPS, which civilians can also play a part, where certain areas where you drive around at night time and you just observe and report back to police what's happening in the area.
Just being the eyes and ears.
100%.
Now, I'm in an emergency. Just last tip for our listeners. I'm in an emergency. Who do I call? What do I do?
There's two phone calls you can make. 10111, which is the South African Police Flying Squad Major Control Room, or alternatively phone your security company and alert them in terms to get a reaction in that time.
Okay. Would you recommend doing both, or is that not necessary?
Both.
Okay. So in closing, Brian, would you mind sharing with our listeners how would they get hold of TRSS? How would they make contact, and what is the process?
Yes, thank you. By all means, we'd love to. Please contact us on our website, trss.co.za.
Fantastic, and we'll be sure to put the details there at the bottom as
Appreciate
well.
it. Lovely. Thank you so
Brian,
much.
it's been fantastic. It's having you with us today. Thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge. But I think more importantly, making sure that we've got safer communities and neighborhoods to live in. Without people like you, I think we've got a lot bigger fight on our hands. So thank you for
100%.
making
Thank
it
you.
safer.
Safer, stronger together.
There we go. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Evolving together. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.